We're here to rev your engines with the latest news, insights, and behind-the-scenes action from the world of stock car racing. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a casual observer, we're bringing you the checkered flag and coverage. So buckle up, grab your favorite drink, and get ready to make the next left turn with us, where every lap is an adventure.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Variety Sports Network production. This is The Next Left Turn. Aaron is back this week, thank God. I know we all missed him so much last week. Big race last night, a lot of fun. It was a really good race. It really was. So many lead changes in the first stage, lots of three-wide racing. We had two cars try to take flight. We had two cars turn into fireballs. A little bit of action all over the place. We didn't have one big one. We had two big ones. It was this race had it all for you. It had everything. Was it better than the Daytona 500? That's the question, Aaron. Was it a better race than the 500?
I think so. I thought it was action packed. I said it in the comments last week. I was like, bad luck Bubba, because he did have a bad one at Michigan, and then this one, bad luck Barry. I thought he was going to dominate all night, but no, I think this one was better. You got muy caliente fires. You got people on 2 wheels, 4 wheels, up in the sky. A comeback victory. So I thought it was better. Yeah.
I mean, I thought this race was excellent. I saw the poll on Twitter, and every week I see the poll. I think it's Jeff Glauker or something. Puts the poll up. What do you think
Jeff
of this
Gluck,
race?
yeah.
There you go. Yeah, and I did I thought it was a good race, and I was like 9% thought it was a bad one. I'm like, what is there to complain about in this race? Like, I can understand 1 or 2, but 9? Woo.
It's probably lap 60. That's probably what got them. It's probably their favorite driver was involved.
That's not a problem with the race, guys. That's part of racing. It happens. I mean, look, my guys are getting beat up for the last month after they had such a great start to the summer. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona, Florida last night, Saturday, August 24th. God, like I said, we've kind of previewed it. It was a great race. It was a lot of fun. All the action you could ever want in a NASCAR race, really. I mean, the only thing we didn't get was a fight on pit road at the end. That's the only thing that we were missing from having an otherwise fun-filled NASCAR race.
Who were you expecting on that?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see any reason for anybody to get into the fight. I'm just saying that was the only piece of excitement we were missing that we usually enjoy to have. And I think we're due for one. I think next weekend we could have one.
Oh yeah,
really
this playoff bubble is interesting. I'm not understanding on the bubble system, because it's like Bubba goes up and then he goes down. He finishes better than Chris Buescher, but Chris Buescher's ahead of him. Is it just by the wins? Maybe I'm getting confused on this with the winning you're in, but
I think they take everything into account, like stage wins and everything else.
Goes by like
where they finish in the stages. I think it's all goes into account.
You know, so he should be
1
up
through
there.
10 at the end of each stage. They get stage points.
Yep.
So I mean,
I knew. Yeah,
have to get applied. So maybe he's just collected enough stage points, or they're that close where, if they're 15 spots apart at the end of the stage, it makes that big of a difference points wise. I have no idea. I'm still learning the cars this year, man. Remember, I'll figure out the point system next year.
Yeah, they're definitely aerodynamic, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of neat. It's. I don't think they have the intent of the cars being able to take off the way they do, but with the bottom being the way it is, at these tracks where they're running 200 miles an hour, I think that's just something it's an inherent risk. I think NASCARs have always come off of the ground. And when I say always, I mean, I'm not saying every single week, but usually once a year you see a car come off the ground. I can remember as a kid seeing it, plenty of times. And, thankfully the cars have gotten to be so structurally safe, and they act like a big protective shell that we don't have guys typically get hurt anymore, severely injured, or, pass away. So that's credit to the ingenuity of the technology advancing. But with the technology advancing, there's going to be downfalls. So there's something they're just going to have to work on. I'm sure we'll see some kind of change next season, and then probably an even better change the following season. Probably going to need a little more time to figure out how to keep these cars on the ground. But with the car being basically completely encased with the whole big skid plate thing on the bottom of the car, there's nowhere for the air to stop except for the little flaps.
Yep.
On the hood and the roof. So they'll figure something out. But it's just interesting that over the last few weeks we've been seeing the cars take off a little bit more than we have earlier in the year. But let's stop talking about all those things. Let's get to the race. Let's break it down. Let's start stage one. So stage one is only 35 laps. So we can go the whole way on fuel and tires. Not going to be an issue. I mean, we all know what Daytona is. The first lap is never, you don't get up to full speed until you start lap 2. So everybody's just kind of in line to take their time. But what we did see by lap 3 and 4 was we saw a lot of 3-wide racing. But you guys know I always like to start you off with the opening lap. So here we go for the start of the Daytona 400.
There is so much on the line here. It's time to bring the action at Daytona International Speedway. Under the lights, there is no better place to shine. Whose night will it be over the next 160 laps? Let's go here in Daytona. Best ever start at this track for the guy third down on the low line, Josh Berry, as Michael McDowell will lead this field into one. There is so.
Man, I'm never going to get over the sound of the cars. I just
you will when they become electric.
Yeah, that's gonna. Don't even get me started. Don't go there, please. We don't want to ruin the show before it really gets going. But anyways, so first lap's pretty just. Let's get up to speed and let's get racing. We just watched that whole ordeal, so we'll just jump ahead a little bit. So we get to lap 6, and Cindric at this point is up front, and he is. When I say up front, he's up front of the third line. He's running the line all the way up next to the wall. And at this point, we are running 3 wide, and it seems like forever. Like the majority of stage 1, it was drafting. It was 3 wide. It was cars jumping from line to line. It was ridiculous. And it was a blast to watch. Like, I don't know how many times I thought we were going to see the big one in the first 35 laps just because the cars were so close. And the art of the drafting at Daytona, I don't want to say it's more intense than it was at Michigan. And maybe I just didn't notice it at Michigan. So I want to be very clear about this. But it's something I noticed this race was the push all the way down the backstretch. And then the slow let off as they got into the turn to let off the car, obviously, so you don't spin it. Like, I understand that they do that, but it almost seemed exaggerated in a lot of the lines for this race. And again, like I said, maybe it's something I've never paid enough attention to, or I know enough about, but it was an art form. The way these guys would hold these cars bumper to bumper and let off at just the perfect time to let that push continue that car through the car in front of him in the corner. It's just awesome. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. I hated big tracks when I was younger. And then I felt like that's all NASCAR ever did. So that's kind of why I went away from NASCAR. I've gotten older and I find this aerodynamic package stuff and this technology part of the racing cool, I guess. I don't know. What do you think, Aaron? Like, is the drafting better now with these cars than what you remember growing up or in the last few years?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit better than when I was growing up. Definitely feel like, though, with the technology, because I believe they were talking about it in Michigan, like especially at the Michigan track Speedway. Like if you're like right behind a driver, there's a lot of air coming your way. You're basically just gonna get like pushed back. So you gotta have to go a little bit low. Where I feel like in this one with the 3 wides, It looked like everyone was kind of sustainable, but what I liked in the first stage was that we didn't know a clear-cut winner of the first stage until maybe like the last 3 laps, because it was Josh Berry for a bit, and then it went to Joey Logano, then it went to Keselowski a little, then it kind of shuffled. That was pretty cool in the first stage. But yeah, no, to what you're saying, the point, yeah, I think it's a little bit better than it was back then.
So I just like I said, it's things I never paid attention to in racing, or at least when it comes to NASCAR, that I'm paying attention to now that we're doing.
Oh yeah, I was Ricky Bobby. Just go fast. I just wanted to watch him go fast.
I just wanted to see the accidents. So like I only would watch the short track races. Like that's all I would watch, because I felt like the super speedways and the speedways were no fun. So when it came to NASCAR, I would only watch like Bristol and I mean I watched Darlington, but Martinsville. Just the 4 or 5 of the smallest tracks. I wouldn't watch anything else except for the Daytona 500 because it's the start of the season. But yeah, anyways, it's just constant passing back and forth. That's all it is. They're 3 wide. They're pushing and they're drafting and they're saving fuel, and it's felt like you had position changes nonstop. Like it was almost like you couldn't watch the thing on the side of the TV to tell you where everybody's at, because things just keep moving. Now the leader in the second place, third place car might be the same for a lap. Leader might be the same for 3 or 4 laps, but because they were running the 3 wide and the way they were moving, it just kept it didn't. You were just watching the screen at that point because you had no reason to even look through the field, because by the time you found who you were looking for on the TV and then you looked over at the column, they had probably moved 7 or 8 spots. Did you notice that too?
Yeah. I definitely noticed that because, again, like I said, like Josh Berry was doing really well, and all of a sudden, he kind of I think he took I know he was actually falling back for some reason. He was on the outside, but he was like falling back a little. And Logano kind of took over with Keselowski. I think Austin Cindric was in front of him, and then somehow Berry got back up to the top in the first stage. But yeah,
he just cycled through the whole place.
Yeah. And it was definitely Ford dominated too in the first stage.
Ford was on it. Penske was on top. Front Row Motors, Stewart Haas. I mean, the Ford setup was right for Daytona last night. They were on it. Penske had the best team all night. That's just all what it was. They had absolutely the best running team all night as a whole. It almost looked like JGR has or Hendrick has at some of the other tracks this year, where you see all 4 of the cars in the top 6. Well, there were multiple points in this race where it was 1, 2, 3, or 1, 3, 4, or 2, 4, 5, where Penske was all together. So they definitely had a beat on it tonight. Unfortunately, luck did not go any of their ways. They got caught up in all the accidents. So we will push on. So we're just changing positions left and right the whole first stage. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. There were no cautions. We went the whole way. I mean, there were, like I said, the battling, the splitting back and forth was ridiculous. I wish I had a bunch of clips for it. I know I've got a couple here. I'll show you this short one here real quick. This is just movement through the field and how quickly things changed.
Larson yet to notch up a top 5 here. And he said, you know what? I think it's soon. I think it's close. I'm getting better and better at these tracks. Berry on the inside of Logano. It's 3 wide with McDowell on the high line.
Logano's experience showed he wanted to go to the bottom, just didn't have the confidence because he wasn't clear. Being stuck in the middle was not optimal, but it was his only option.
And that
last 2 races, Michael McDowell wants to be a racer.
Yeah, basically. I think he might feel like his seat might be a little hot.
I mean, there's a driver that won that is looking for a spot.
Exactly. And then Corey LaJoie's looking for a spot right now.
And Kojo's going to Xfinity.
Yeah, but I mean, he's looking for a spot. And then I found out earlier today, Zane Smith is looking for a ride for next year. Not like he's super competitive. So, I mean, there's not a lot of places that could take McDowell, a lot of guys that could take McDowell's spot, but I mean, you never know if they want to make a change.
I mean, speaking of spots, though, how do you feel about Vin Ginsburg taking the 88 car? Talking about spots.
Since Junior's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I don't
he's
think it's
guaranteed. I know
appropriate
he's
for him to have that
guaranteed.
number.
No, I think he's guaranteed though 2 wins because he's good at road courses. So he's got walk-ins in Chicago, so it's not automatic.
Well,
2.
heck, he might even get Coda. I mean,
Oh yeah,
we
he
have so
probably
many
would
road
too.
courses now. Plus, you got the Roval in
Sonoma.
Charlotte. So yeah, so if he can you imagine the dude comes in next year and he takes every road course?
I believe it. I believe that's what they were doing down under when he was racing. So I think it's all road courses down there.
Oh yeah,
he never
raced in a circle till he got here.
Yeah, so that's some guaranteed wins.
But I mean, if that's all he's got to do to get in the playoffs, but then in the playoffs he only has one road course, and I think it's in the second to last stage. So he's still got to find a way to get through the first 2 stages. So he still needs to learn to win on ovals and circle tracks.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing okay in the Xfinity on those tracks, so I think he'll be all right, but we'll definitely struggle a little bit with these guys.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take him some time, but he's a world class racer, especially when it comes to the road tracks and street courses. So he will cause havoc. Like if you can bet you want, and it's a road course week, you go ahead and just put your money there on Shane Van Gisbergen, and you got a good chance of winning some cash. So at the end of stage 1, it was Josh Berry picks up his first stage win at Daytona. Joey Logano gets second, Chris Buescher third, Austin Cindric fourth, Ryan Blaney fifth. Like I said, those Penske cars, 2, 4, 5 right there. Todd Gilliland had a great race today. Brad Keselowski 7th, Michael McDowell 8th, William Byron 9th, Kyle Larson 10th. Front Row Motors and Stewart Haas and Penske. And then, so you had 2 cars that weren't Fords, and they were both Hendricks cars. Basically, the other Fords are all represented. All the big Ford teams are represented there. So, like you mentioned it, Ford had a great race yesterday. Penske was they were it. They were them. How would that go, Aaron? I don't understand the new common popular talk.
I don't know,
Right.
but you should be happy though, because we were pretty much crapping on Penske and everyone else because it was a Joe Gibbs or a Hendrick team in the beginning, and now all of a sudden all these teams are starting to show up.
The first 2 months of the season, I was like, this is going to be a rough year to talk manufacturers and teams. But yeah, it was basically June rolled around, and all of a sudden, other teams found ways to win and compete. So what? RFK's got a win, right?
Yep, Keselowski 23-11. He's got some wins.
See, 23-11 is just a subsidiary of Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, so Joe Gibbs has got like what, 6 cars?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, Penske's got his 3 plus Wood Brothers, plus they have an affiliation with Front Row too. So, I mean,
I keep thinking Furniture Row, but I forgot they don't exist anymore.
But no, we get through stage 1, and Barry takes everybody down pit lane. Logano gets wins the race off of pit road for all the good changes in the action to start. But we get some very interesting action to start before even stage 2 begins, as in Daniel Suarez is on fire.
Literally,
car was hot, burning. So as he was leaving his pit stall, his car ends up catching fire. And he's got to go around the track and get back. He actually ends up catching fire because Denny Hamlin's car rolls up, catches some fuel that's on the ground. It runs the fire. It follows the fuel line all the way to Suarez's car, and Suarez's car catches on fire. It's pretty interesting.
As he gets stuck right between Denny and the 21 car, Harrison Burton. I believe it was 21 car. He just gets stuck in the middle. It's just like a little bit of fire right there. I was like, oh, all right.
Well, I got 2 clips for this. I just gotta make sure I find the second one. So here's the first one I got for you. This is Suarez coming back to the pits on fire.
The 99 returning to pit road after his original pit stop, and the car erupts into flames. On his pit stop, there was some fire during the pit stop, but we have seen that before where a spark will catch a little bit of excess fuel on fire, but this is much more severe than that. I don't know if fuel got spilled into the trunk area and it caught on fire, but as you got closer and closer to pit road, you see just how severe the fire gets.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez, he is watching a replay from their pit cam. There's a cam that hangs over top of their pit. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it looks like everything's clean so far on the stop, and then the 99's waiting on gas. The 11 goes to leave. A little bit of fuel on the ground right here, and then it looks to be right there. A backfire out the pipes of the 11 ignites the fuel on the ground. It chases forward and into the trunk of the 99. This is the 99.
Karma always finds a way, and it found Denny Hamlin later on.
Yeah, but it ended up biting Suarez.
Yeah, no, I agreed with that decision to keep him off the track after that fire incident. They said there's no way you're coming back on, so that was a smart decision.
I think I had a second one that shows it a little bit differently or a little more in depth. I was trying to add stuff at the end. Here it is, yeah.
A replay from their pit cam. There's a cam that hangs over top
I
of
thought
their
this one
pit.
went a little longer. I might be wrong.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it looks like everything's clean so far on the stop, and then the 99's waiting on gas. The 11 goes to leave. A little bit of fuel on the ground right here, and then it looks to be right there. A backfire out the pipes of the 11 ignites the fuel on the ground. It chases forward and into the trunk of the 99.
Okay, so it wasn't any different. My apologies. But pretty wild thing to watch. Glad everybody was A-okay. But yeah, that was something else. That's really all I got to say about that one. I'm surprised he didn't pull the car over going down the backstretch and just get out of the car.
Yeah, he was saying that he could feel like heat, but he didn't realize how much fire was actually behind him. I think until he actually kind of looked over. But yeah, once he got to the pit, then I guess put out and all that. But he said he felt it, but he wasn't sure where and how much fire there was.
He could have Ricky Bobbied that if he wanted to, and it would have been hilarious. Like if he would even, I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't have crossed his mind, but if it would have, and he was just Ricky Bobby, he'd go down in history. But once we finally start stage 2, it's Logano and Buescher out front. They're running side by side at the front of the field. Cindric ends up pushing Logano up, and he ends up taking the lead. And within a couple laps, Bubba Wallace comes up and takes the lead. I mean, that was the nature of this race last night. It didn't matter if you were in 20th. In 4 laps, you could be in first or third. I mean, the lines were just moving like this. So it was constantly back and forth. I actually thought Bubba had a real good chance to win this race and lock himself into the playoffs. He runs really, really good at Daytona. He is let's be completely honest, he's better at the bigger tracks that are more high speed than he is anywhere else. He struggles at road tracks, although he has vastly improved over the last couple of years, and his short track racing is developing. But these are the tracks where he can win, and he missed his opportunity in Michigan, and so I really thought he was going to have a chance at it this week at Daytona.
After Michigan, I was a little iffy because, again, he could have won that, and then got into that little accident. I was like, that's why I was like, bad luck, Bubba. But no, I actually, again, I said earlier, I thought Josh Berry had a really strong car, and when he won that first, I was like, okay. I said we're going to give Chillers his win here before Josh Berry leaves the 4 car. So I would have thought it was going to be Josh Berry today, or yesterday.
Well, it could be him next week. We will wait and see. But as positioning shift and jostle back and forth, we get our first big crash of the night on lap 60. It's Noah Gragson gets a little bit sideways off a bump draft from Mr. Corey LaJoie, and all hell breaks loose. Chastain's involved, Nemechek's involved, Larson, Hamlin, Elliott, Bowman, Truex Jr., Blaney gets a touch in this one, William Byron, and there's more guys who end up getting smaller touches in this. Caution comes out. I got the clip of this one right here. Short clip for such a big accident, to be honest with you. We got a little bit of in-car video here.
Incredible. And he fits into that category. Oh, and here we go. Chastain's involved. Noah Gragson, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson.
Such a calm point in the race. It was too wide or single file, and all of a sudden chaos.
We're still rolling, but we got damage. Bring it right.
Yeah, he's really damaged.
Look at Noah Gragson. Bowman's involved. Truex gets going again. Ty Gibbs in the 54.
I mean, it was the big one, or so we thought it was going to be the big one of the night. But definitely a lot of damage there. It went all over the place. I got another view of it here. Just another cut, just a little bit closer view.
Oh, Noah. No, I don't know if Noah's getting pushed and lost control. Then he goes to the left. That's what it looked like to me.
Look at them all.
He just immediately shot to the left. Here you go. Being a big pushback from Corey right here. Shoves him to the left. He has to correct it. Then he comes back across the racetrack in front of Corey.
There's Denny. Denny's
And that's what we
busted.
talked about earlier. You can push and you can shove, but when you don't do it correctly and you get it wrong just by a little bit, you miss.
I figured Kyle Larson would have had more damage.
I thought so too. This is actually the point where I wasn't watching the race live, so I actually missed this accident. So when I was rewatching it today and I saw Larson, I was like, how did he get out of that one? Just didn't make sense to me. But I got one more of this one because it's the end car, and you guys know I love these. Because it's the big one, we get 3. Boom. It sounded gross. It sounded like stuff was broke the whole way there. Oh, Aaron disappeared. He'll be back, I'm sure. So, yeah, big one. Everybody gets involved in this one, it feels like. At this point, Bubba's still up front. So as we head to the pit cycle for the caution, Wallace takes everybody down pit lane, but Buescher's team gets him out front. He is the defending champion of this race, so he wanted to make a good appearance. He does, want to win for playoff status and points. He is in the thick of it, as we all know. And when we go to drop the green flag, Buescher actually gets the lead, and Logano gives him a good push, and they go single file for a while, and they're running pretty high around the track. As things carry on, Kyle Busch gets Bubba Wallace back up, and again, it goes back to a lot of good, clean racing, just drafting. We're not seeing as much 3 wide at this point in the race. We're seeing a lot more of that single file and side-by-side racing, but just constant changes up front. Penske's up there, then you see Kyle Busch, and then Bubba Wallace, and then Penske comes back, and Michael McDowell comes back, and it's literally, guys, there was too many lead changes for me to go lap by lap and give them all to you. Larson did survive that last accident. He ends up on an outside 3 wide lane in a train, and he gets behind Cindric. And he gives Cindric a little bump and pushes Cindric up on the apron a little bit. Larson takes the lead there and continues to run. This is around lap 78, 79. But at lap 81, we have major issues. Shane Van Gisbergen, his car blows up, goes up in complete smoke. I mean, it looks like a smoke bomb went off and just started getting dragged down or 1,000 smoke bombs went off because you couldn't see anything. It was ridiculous. And then Eric Jones and Martin Truex Jr. both end up getting a flat tire at the same time on the track. Caution comes out. It was really odd to have 3 things go wrong all at once. We rarely see that, especially for 3 things that aren't even related to each other. I'm trying to find that clip for us real quick. I guess I lost it. But sorry guys, I don't have that clip. I accidentally deleted it. My apologies. But yeah, Shane's car was SVG was totally smoked out. Couldn't see anything. The video clip I had was from inside the car where before the car blows up, you can see everything inside the car. As soon as the car blows up, the entire car fills with smoke. I don't even know how SVG got back to pit lane or even got the car stopped safely. But yeah, Eric Jones ended up blowing a right front tire. Martin Truex Jr., I think, blew a right rear tire. They weren't sure if they had picked up some debris somewhere on the track or if it was air pressure. With them both happening, on the same lap, my guess is it was some kind of debris on the track. But how could only two guys hit it, not everybody else? I don't really have any idea. Oh, here's Aaron. He's back. Aaron.
Technical difficulties. This is why we need a studio. You need to pay us.
We're working on it. We're working on it. But we'd be way far apart from each other. Anyways, we're talking about when Shane Van Gisbergen. I'm going to stop saying his name because I screwed up. When SVG blew up and Jones lost a tire and Truex lost a tire, in my rewatching of the race, I didn't hear them define what it was. I thought it had to have been debris on the track
That's
that
what I
blew
thought
up both
too.
tires. Okay. I didn't hear anything about air pressure or those guys just coming off and pressures being low or something, tire exploding like we saw last week in Michigan when we saw multiple cars have tire issues out there at Michigan. This looked different than what we saw in Michigan in the way the tires blew up. But yeah, I didn't know if you had anything else on that. I didn't have a video for it. I must have deleted it.
Nah, it's all good.
All right, cool. We go back to Green Racing, and Keselowski gets behind Larson, and he clears Logano. He gets him by Logano, and let's be clear: Larson has never won at Daytona. He rarely finishes any good at Daytona. This is a track that's got his number. So, or at least for this race, it does. So again, this is just a lot of back and forth racing. You got 5 laps to go. Keselowski and Larson are still going at it. Logano gets behind Keselowski. They've split at this point. Logano shoves Keselowski up past Larson at the end there, and then Keselowski tries to block both lanes the following lap, and Logano gets by Keselowski, and Logano wins the stage. Sorry, had to give the play-by-play there because it was every lap something changed, everything happened. So at the end of stage 2, it was Logano got first, Blaney second, Keselowski third, Kyle Larson fourth, Todd Gilliland fifth, Justin Haley sixth, Kyle Busch was seventh, William Byron eighth, Chris Buescher ninth, and Bubba Wallace was 10th. So those are the guys who got stage points. All these guys could use the stage points, with the exception of Justin Haley and Todd Gilliland. Bubba Wallace needs them because he's still fighting to get in. Man, it was kind of outside of the big one. It was an uneventful stage 2. That's not how it's been recently for us with NASCAR. Stage 2's been pretty good with action.
Yeah, it's either that or you're getting people bumping into the wall and causing cautions or just tire problems.
Yeah,
it's usually been our thing.
But we had the big one, and that was really it. I mean, that was all that really happened. We didn't have a lot of other action. But let's get into showing you that pass by Joey Logano to end stage 2. We do have a clip of that one for you.
Blaney goes low in front of Larson. And now Logano drops to that high side. To the line.
This is close.
The 2-team Penske cars, and it's going to be Joey Logano winning the second stage.
How did you feel about Lee Diffie's commentary? Play-by-play, I guess. I thought it was really, really good, actually.
So I'm used to him because of IndyCar.
Yep.
But when I heard him, my eyes could not deal with what my ears were hearing while I was watching the TV. It was really difficult. I think he did a fantastic job. I don't want to say this and it'd be taken the wrong way. But the way he speaks, the way he calls a race, it brings an aura that we're not used to in NASCAR. I guess is the best way. And I'm not saying it's classiness or refined ability or anything like that. It's just the sound
No, I get
takes
you.
me different places. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think he did a really good job. I think it was a great race to start him out at. Give him a race that's big, that he can't. There's nothing he can do to try to overshadow this race. He doesn't have to feel the pressure. He can just let the race be what it is. He's a consummate professional, anyways, so that really wasn't a worry. But I thought he did an excellent job with his first NASCAR race, especially being what race it was. I thought he did a great job. You?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that maybe he gets on when next year for like Amazon or whatever they're trying to do, get more races under his belt for it. 'Cause I actually enjoyed it pretty much.
I think he would be great to have for the road tracks.
Yeah,
I think he'd be excellent.
that would be, yeah, for real. 'Cause
But you know what? I want a third race in Daytona every year.
yeah, hopefully that could be arranged. Hopefully, I think because again, I think Chicago ends after next year, so it could
I
happen.
want the road track. I want the
The
24-hour track.
yeah, I was gonna say that's what you want.
I want that track. I want a race that is 100 laps at that track.
Mm.
That'd be a long race. Because that track's what, 3.5 miles?
I believe so. Yeah.
3.5 or something around there. So I mean, that'd be 350 miles of road racing. That'd be a big number for NASCAR. But you could put this race into the playoff, and then have them come here around this time of year and run the 24-hour track. How about that?
I would definitely watch that.
Dude, I would be all over that. And you know, these NASCAR drivers, some of these guys have raced in the 24 hours of Daytona. They all probably think about doing it at least once in their life. Shoot, let them practice and have a race for it. And then if they need to go run it, or let NASCAR go make a team for the 24 hours of Daytona and win it. Yeah. Put Larson out there with a guy like Logano, with Tyler Reddick, you know, the SVG. Like, seriously, go put that team together and go see how they do. I think it'd be interesting.
I would definitely watch for free for that.
Heck yeah, man. I'd be all over that. But that's neither here nor there. We're not through this race yet, guys. We do still have stage 3 to talk about. So, in preparation of stage 3, Logano leads almost the entire field down pit lane. Josh Berry does stay out and takes over the lead. When the green flag drops, Busch, Mr. Rowdy Kyle Busch, is pushing for the lead because he's got a car that can win and he needs a W. His streak is on the line. His playoff life is on the line. He has to win this race or next week to get in the playoffs. He is mathematically out by points count. So he's got a W, and he was going for it today. Or yes, last night. He was going for it, and he was doing it clean. He was moving anybody he had to in the cleanest way possible to get up to the front and maintain the lead to keep his streak alive. And I'll be honest with you, I think he cares more about the streak than he does the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially with everything that's been going down, RCR this year for him. Yeah, I would definitely think they'll win.
I mean, I think he'd love to get into the playoffs, and because that's who he is as a competitor, but the streak means more than anything to him, and he is just now getting good cars out of RCR. I think he wanted this one bad. And I think if we haven't had some of the late race activities recently, I think the end of this race would have looked different. But we will get
old Rowdy would have showed up.
Yes, I completely agree. I think we would have seen Rowdy from 10 to 12 years ago. We'll get there. We'll get there. So this is just a lot. Again, we go back to the clean drafting racing. No excitement really to speak of early in the third stage. It's a 65 lap stage, so it's a little bit longer. But with 42 laps to go, we do start to get a little bit of interest going on. Justin Haley leaves off of the bumper of McDowell. He catches a late push from Cindric, and he goes like slingshot engage. And Cindric gave him the push, and Haley went to the lead. Haley with this guy, we got the scenario anyways. But this is where you had to start looking at it going, what if one of these guys from way back in the field wins this race? How is this going to upset what we're looking at for the playoffs?
Again, I said 2 weeks ago, when you're in, that's the system. So blame NASCAR.
It is providing the excitement. We can't say it's not. So Haley gets out there and he leads for a little bit. I mean, it's not like he has to lead for one lap. He stays out there for quite some time, and he shows he has the ability to drive a NASCAR on the biggest of stages. You know, he didn't blow it up. He didn't get loose and lose his cool in a corner and spin his car out. He drove just fine. But as we're moving on, with about 21 laps to go, John Hummer Nemechek is moving his way up through the field. And he actually gets side by side with Haley. And he gets a little loose off the bump draft, and he spins across the nose of Haley, and Kyle Busch takes the lead. This obviously changes things up a little bit because it adds a whole new dynamic of now are we going to go get fuel? Are we going to get tires? Are we going to get right side? Are we going to get forward? How much fuel do we need? You know, this is where now everything's what do we have to get to the end of the race? We didn't really worry about strategy. We didn't talk about it a lot in this week's show. Like we have most of the last 4 or 5 races because
there really wasn't any strategy.
There wasn't any. You didn't need strategy in this race because things were just lining out so easily and so nicely. You didn't have to worry about strategy. And this was just, can we make it, or do we need to stop? That's all this ended up coming down to. And the pit crews were good this week. You didn't see a lot of jostling around. You saw guys moving 1-2 spots. I think in the middle of stage 2 of a caution, I think it was when Bubba was in the lead. He dropped 4 spots off pit road, and the next thing you know, he's back up in the lead. It wasn't that big of a deal, so it just didn't seem to matter this week as much. But Kyle Busch leads everybody down to the pit lane. Cindric actually wins the race off pit road, and Keselowski and Cindric end up taking over the front row. When the green flag drops, Larson gets behind Cindric and pushes Cindric up into the lead. And this is where things start to get interesting. With about 15, I think it was lap 15 to go or 16 to go, McDowell is pushing on Keselowski, and now he's battling Cindric. But this was at the start. This was at the restart. And Keselowski gets hit with a penalty for jumping the start.
Oh, yeah. That one was interesting. When they said that, I was like, what? I said, what exactly happened? Then I saw he kind of like moved forward a little bit.
He got a little giddy and he jumped a bit, so he had to do a drive-through. He took himself out of the race. He literally took himself out of the race, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised he would jump like that. He's an old school vet, fantastic racer. He's had a great career. That is something that's very out of character for him, especially knowing where he's at and that he's been up front all day and he's got a car that can run. He doesn't need to go jump out there like it's overtime. All he's got to do is have a good, clean start and not get smoked. So a little disappointed there for Keselowski. Is what it is. He served his penalty, drive through. He takes himself out of the race. So with 12 to go, it's Cindric and McDowell running side by side up front. And you're looking at the two of the cars who have been up front all day long are up front at the end. Michael McDowell's biggest win of his career was when he won Daytona 500 a few years back. He hadn't won the 400 yet. If he got both of them to put on his mantle, I'm sure he'd love that. But I thought McDowell had a chance. I thought Cindric could get his next win, and that would put some serious pressure on Logano.
I still thought Josh Berry going forward.
So yeah, I mean, I thought Berry was in it because he had a great car all night. But I did have in the back of my mind, with as much as these guys are moving, Todd Gilliland could have won this race too.
Sheesh.
I mean, the Fords were just so good all night. I thought any Ford that was up front at the end would have had a chance.
Plus, there wasn't a lot of drivers left.
Right. Well, at this point, you still do. At this point, you got plenty left.
Eh.
You're going to lose a bunch of them here real quick. So with like 11 laps to go, Kyle Larson is now pushing 3 wide. He's in the middle, trying to split those 2 lines apart and get the third groove going. But with 9 laps left in the midst of all this, Michael McDowell does get into the bump draft off Cindric. Cindric pushes him a little bit the wrong way, and McDowell ends up backwards going into turn 1. He gets airborne, like sideways, like
2 wheels up, 2 wheels down. He was going to fly.
Yeah, he looked like he was about to take off. I got the clip. We're going to show it in a second. But, I mean, he gets Logano's involved. Larson's involved. Bubba's involved. Bowman, Byron, Haley, who was up front, Reddick, and a bunch of other guys are involved. This accident really does put us down to where we're getting close to, is it going to be a shootout? It's going to be a shootout. Is it going to be overtime, or are we going to have a shootout before overtime? But let me go over here. Let me get this clip up here. Shoot. You know what? I forgot about showing you the Justin Haley clip. So let me go back and show you the move from Justin Haley, because it was a pretty nice move. And then we'll show you the big accident here.
Whether it's low or high. And Cindric's getting pushed. Here comes Haley. Haley goes to that low line and gets pushed to the front immediately.
That
Seriously,
was as
slingshot
aggressive of
engage.
a block as you can pull there. Oof. He used it to get the lead, but the push from the 22 to the 2.
Anyways, I forgot I had that one. I wanted to show you guys that because it was a movie reference, and I thought we would all appreciate it.
There's a lot of Ricky Bobby this today.
I can't help it. It happens sometimes.
I love it.
So I got a bunch of clips of this. I'm just gonna run through them as we can here. This is the big accident. This was the big one, number 2.
Lifts right there, and still contact. And then look at this.
Look at him.
Whoa.
Woo. If it wasn't for Logano, that car goes all the way up. Not like Logano did that on purpose.
Michael McDowell, who knows what it's like to have a massive crash.
Christopher Bell's involved,
track.
Dylan, Reddick.
Lifts right there, and still.
Let me see the next one. I mean, what was your initial reaction when you saw McDowell get airborne like that, Aaron?
Pretty much just like, holy crap. I was like, oh, he's on 2 wheels. And then I saw like the accident because, I mean, my driver Chase Elliott was already out. So it is what it was. And then I saw that Bubba hitting Christopher Bell. And I was like, oh, it's going to be done for the both of them because I wasn't sure how much damage that one took. But nah, the McDowell pretty much two tires up in the air. I thought he was going to do a little, like maybe another flip or so.
That's what I thought.
When I didn't. Yep. And when I didn't, I was like, oh, sheesh. But again, I just thought the karma for Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano from what they were talking about 2 weeks ago kind of came back to him in Daytona.
Well, we're about to see it right here from Joey Logano's in-car camera up top. And then on the bottom.
Yeah. But also, too, Kyle Larson, he was just trying too much in this race. I feel like he's kind of grasping at straws to get another win when he already has 4. I think he just needs to preserve and get ready for the playoffs in 2 weeks, but that's just me.
I think he feels like he's out of his groove and he needs a win to get back in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, McDowell on the bottom, McDowell on the top. So it doesn't look bad on McDowell's camera. Logano's looks scary to me because you get all the traffic coming into you.
Yeah.
We don't need to watch that again. My apologies. Couldn't find my mouse. Let's see here. We got another view of it here. Like I said, I had plenty of these.
Coming up.
Oh, they got together at 3.
Whoa! McDowell goes up high. Larson is in it. Reddick's in it. Logano, Wallace, Haley.
That all started in turn 3. Cindric tried to lift to prevent this from happening, but he did not lift quick enough.
Cindric has a habit of
It's
doing
the
that every now and
second
then.
big one of the night.
Joey Logano's glasses were messed up. He was all kinds of crooked on his face. You there?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, did I lose him?
No, you're good.
All right, so that gets we get a little red. Do we get the red flag there?
No, that's coming up. That's
Red
coming up.
flag's on the next one. Okay, cool. So they get everything cleaned up at this point, and with 3 laps to go, just like it would be if it was overtime. Busch. Do I have this right? Yeah, because Cindric survives that. He's up front for the after that. So Busch and Cindric are together, and they lead into turn 1. Barry is on the outside going into turn 3, and he actually ends up pulling even. Then with 2 to go, Cindric and Barry are running side by side out front. Cindric gets wiggled off of the bump draft by Busch. He ends up hooking down into Barry. Barry down the backstretch, ends up upside down, sliding all the way down the backstretch, ends up slamming into the wall. This wasn't a big one, but this was a big one because it's the second time we had a car get airborne in like a 20-minute period. Absolutely insane here. Josh Berry's perfectly fine. He said it wasn't nearly as bad as what it looked. Again, this is a salute to the technology that NASCAR has put into these cars to keep these drivers and entertainers safe.
Whoa! Barry's gone, and he goes up and over.
And this would have been grass
Boom.
back like
Huge
15
hit for
years
Josh
ago.
Berry.
Oh, yeah. If that was still grass, we would have had the rumble, tumble, and bumble all the way down the backstretch.
All right.
Content, and there's Josh.
You
There
can
we
see
go.
he
There's
gets
the
out,
thumbs up.
gives the thumbs up. So,
But
yeah,
yes,
that
this
was
is where the red flag comes in, just because they had to lift him up.
Right. Yeah, they had flipped the car over and everything. So we get a little bit of a red flag after that. Like I said, Josh Berry perfectly fine. He said it looked worse than it really was. I got some more angles here. This is a longer clip. We'll watch a couple of these and we'll just cut it off. But this is like a 2.5 minute clip while they're getting everything cleaned up, showing different angles.
Contact. The 2 is getting pushed, and as soon as that car was pushing him, got turned around and went. This is what scared me, because Josh is hanging on his belt. He's not in his seat. He's hanging on his belt and has that frontal impact.
Everything that went right for the 34 to set his car back on the wheels didn't go right for Josh Berry. And I'm with you, Jeff. The flip is the first concern, but then the hit into the wall when gravity is pulling you out of the seat is just different. Multi-point harness is trying to hold your hips and your lower body tight into that seat. But as you run all day, the heat, the sweat, everything kind of loosens up a little bit. You have to keep tugging on those belts. It was so great for Josh to get out.
And again, that speaks to the structural integrity. Here's the view from Austin Dillon. Oh, massive hit with Gilliland.
Austin thought he was going to miss it, and then Gilliland came.
And they were talking
So
about
here's
this
the
like
push
5 minutes ago. If Ryan Childress was going to get a
from
win with the
behind,
4
and
car.
then it moved the 2 car up. And again,
not
pushing
last
down
night.
wrong.
Oh,
What a violent hit.
See right there. There's the push. They
so
all
that's
stacked
probably
up,
why.
the 8, the 20.
Hold on, I just thought of something.
Now the one thing about that car.
Anyways, that's enough of that. Just want to give you guys a couple other different views of it. Something I just noticed. Kyle Busch caused that accident.
Yeah, he wants to win at all costs.
Rowdy out there getting a little messy with it. I would say, but that's neither here nor there. We go to overtime, and I love overtime in NASCAR.
Have we
I
had
think
like
the
4
shootout
or
was
like
great.
5 weeks? It feels
Something like
it.
that. Well, last year we had a stretch there where it felt like we had, I don't know. It felt like we had 10 out of 12. You had overtime in a row. It was crazy. And that's because I would just tune in at the end of every race every week last year just to see who won. I didn't watch the race. I just tuned in to catch the end. And it was always overtimes. But as we go into overtime, it's Kyle Busch. It's Harrison Burton on the front row. Both guys need a win to get in. They can't get in points wise, so they both need wins. Kyle Busch, Mr. Rowdy, definitely the seasoned veteran. Harrison Burton comes from a family of racers. He's Jeff's son, Ward's nephew. I grew up watching Jeff and Ward. They sound very, very different. If you don't know, Ward has that deep Southern drawl, and Jeff has a more peppy Southern twang, I would say. They were always good. But anyways, overtime flags drop. We know the rules here. It's 2 to go when after they come across the start finish line for the white flag. It's a green white checker. Busch gets out front to start a little bit. Harrison ends up getting a push from this part-time racer, Retzlaff.
Yeah, Parker Retzlaff. Yeah.
Retzlaff? I don't even know how to say his name. That's how part-time he is. And Burton gets this run, and he gets this push from Retzlaff, and he takes the lead into 3. Burton ends up blocking like it's his job, which it is. He was blocking like his life depended on it, and he threw a huge block. I mean, big block in turn 4. And that sealed it up. And Harrison Burton gets the W at the Daytona 400-mile race, the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona at night. Huge win for Harrison Burton. It's the 100th win for the Wood Brothers organization. Harrison's out of that ride this next year. That's where Josh Berry's going. So Josh Berry is going to have to win 100 races to do anything significant for that team historically. So good luck to Josh. That's a big number to hit. I think if he can win 50 in that car, that would be the most any driver has won for that team.
Seems right.
I mean, I think I saw a list of it earlier today. I think I want to say 43 races was the most won by any one driver for the Wood Brothers. So, anyways, let's get down to the results. Harrison Burton with his first W. Kyle Busch in second. Christopher Bell third. Cody Ware fourth. Ty Gibbs fifth. Bubba Wallace sixth. Brad Keselowski seventh. Parker Retzlaff eighth. Daniel Hemrick ninth. Chris Buescher 10th. Carson Hocevar 11th. The Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain, finished 12th. Zane Smith 13th. Like I said earlier, he is looking for a ride. Chase Briscoe 14th. John Hunter Nemechek 15th. Alex Bowman ends up 16th yesterday. Eric Jones in 17th. Austin Cindric 18th after being up front the majority of the day. BJ McLeod 19th. Joey Gase 20th. A lot of part-time drivers in this race this week. Kyle Larson 21st. Austin Dillon 22nd. Todd Gilliland 23rd. Martin Truex Jr. with more bad luck ends up 24th. He needs to win to get in next week. Austin Hill 25th. Josh Berry 26th. Again, dominant all race, bad luck. William Byron 27th. Tyler Reddick 28th. Blaney 29th. Michael McDowell 30th. Joey Logano 31st. Justin Haley 32nd. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 33rd. Corey LaJoie 34th. SVG finishes 35th with his car that blew up. Your boy Chase 36th. Noah Gragson 37th, Denny Hamlin 38th, Ryan Preece 39th, and bringing up the rear end, the flaming fireball, Daniel Suarez finished 40th.
So with the Wood Brothers, I just looked it up. So David Pearson leads it all at 43.
Okay,
so he has 43 for the Wood Brothers. Cale Yarborough has 13. That's coming in second.
So I think Barry could do that.
Yeah, because after that's like Elliott Sadler has 1, Neil Bonnet has 9. Kyle Petty has 2. AJ Foyt 5.
Yeah, I didn't know Foyt drove for him.
I didn't know either. It must have been maybe in like the maybe early 80s.
Maybe, I don't know.
Could be wrong on that one. But yeah.
Let's do a regular season points breakdown right now because we have had some changes.
Just a little.
Tyler Reddick is in first place, remains in first place. Kyle Larson jumps up to second. Chase Elliott drops to third. Ryan Blaney's in fourth. William Byron is in fifth. Christopher Bell jumps a spot to sixth. Brad Keselowski jumps 2 spots up to seventh. Denny Hamlin drops 2 spots down to eighth. Truex Jr. drops a spot down to ninth. Ty Gibbs in 10th. Chris Buescher up a spot to 11th. Alex Bowman down a spot to 12th. Bubba Wallace up a spot to 13th. Ross Chastain down a spot to 14th. Joey Logano stays stagnant at 15th. Kyle Busch up a spot at 16th. Daniel Suarez down a spot at 17th. Chase Briscoe 18th. Cindric 19th. And Todd Gilliland 20th. Todd Gilliland's in 20th. Michael McDowell is behind him. Josh Berry's behind him. Noah Gragson. Ryan Preece. Austin Dillon. Geez. I'm kind of surprised by that. I figured there'd be people in front of him. So that's the regular season points. But let's take a look at the playoff picture here because this is obviously going to be a big conversation we're going to have at the end of the show next week as we're going to be talking about the playoffs because they will be decided at that point. But Kyle Larson's in first. Christopher Bell's in second. Reddick third. Byron fourth. Blaney fifth. Hamlin sixth. Chase Elliott seventh. Brad Keselowski eighth. Joey Logano ninth. Cindric 10th. Daniel Suarez 11th. Bowman 12th. Harrison Burton, who at the beginning of this race was 34th in points, ladies and gentlemen, 34th in points. It is win and you are in. He jumps 21 spots. He jumps 21 spots with his win. That's a huge win. Martin Truex Jr. right now is up 58 points in the 14th spot. Ty Gibbs is up 39, and Chris Buescher is up 21. Bubba is the first man out, minus 21. Ross Chastain's minus 27. These are the two guys who can still get in based on points, but they're going to need some help. This is. Are you excited for next week? I'm excited for next week.
Yeah, it's win or go home. This is it. So I was looking up too for Darlington. If we're looking at, because it used to be Bojangles. And so, obviously, it's announced the Cookout Select 500, but it's looking like it's either a Denny Hamlin Truex or Kevin Harvick, but Kevin Harvick doesn't race anymore. It's kind of really it that have really dominated the later part of Darlington, because obviously you have the Goodyear, but that's in the beginning of the race, which Brad Keselowski, his first win of the season was there, but yeah, this is going to be interesting because Kyle Larson won last year, and then it's usually just Denny Hamlin winning the Cookout. So this is going to put a lot of pressure on like the Rowdies, the Ty Gibbs, who surprisingly did not have engine problems this week.
Right.
He did not have any, which is very shocking. But yeah, so this is definitely going to be an interesting last week. And I think, which we'll talk about next week, between position 3 and 6 really makes a big difference in this playoffs.
Fair enough. So next race is another night race.
Yay.
Under the lights. It's a Sunday night race, but it starts early enough. We will be here Sunday night post-race to recap the race. The only reason we're not here Sunday night is if we have big rain delay or they can't finish the race and they end up running on Monday, and then we end up being in the situation we were in last week. Which hurt us. I'm disappointed in y'all. You didn't come visit me. He left me hanging high and dry. And then you guys didn't come join me in the chat. No, I'm just kidding. I understand we all had lives and it was a bit of a rough race last week. So let's recap this one more time here. Truex Jr. is plus 58. He's the first man in that hasn't won. Ty Gibbs is plus 39. He's the second man in. And Chris Buescher is plus 21 on Bubba Wallace for the final spot. It's win and get in. One of these three guys. Okay, let's put it this way. There's a chance all three of these guys can make it. There's a chance. But I'll take the field that one of these three guys does not make the playoffs. What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Kyle Busch. gives that extra fuel because of his race streak, which we talked about earlier. But he hasn't won since 08 there, and that's when it was the Dodge Avenger 500, and that's what Joe Gibbs.
Ooh.
So I mean,
That's
he
a
has
whole
the
different era.
experience, but yeah, exactly. So
Give me Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man.
Ooh.
He owes me a win.
For real. He really does. Give me. This is going to be tough. Because even Eric Jones has won this.
Tell me who you think will win, and then we'll say who we want to see win.
I think Kyle Larson's going to win because he won last year. And like I said earlier, he's been really pushing hard these last three, 4 races of trying to get a W, just another one to secure him. And realistically, I honestly, I could see Denny Hamlin winning that.
Okay, so I think Blaney does it because he's pissed.
Yeah, I can see Josh Berry too.
He's pissed with the way the last 3 weeks have gone. He's been strong on the shorter tracks this year. He always seems to be there in the mix. So I'm going to go with Blaney. Denny Hamlin is my second pick to win that race because it's what he does. But I would really, really like to see Martin Truex Jr. get the win and lock himself into the playoffs. I know he's got the best chance points-wise, but I would rather see him win the race and lock him in so he can be relevant for the end of his full-time career.
Well, he did win in the Bojangles in 2016 when it was the Bojangles Southern 500, so he does have experience. But I don't know. I feel like he's been kind of tipping off in a bad way the last
I know, races. But I'm still rooting for him.
Let me pick right now. I'll go Josh Berry on this one. I think he's gonna give Childers a win and send him on a good note to go before he goes to Spire.
Oh, hey, I just found that clip of SVG blowing up. Hold on. I just want to show because I talked about the smoke because this is when you ended up disappearing earlier. This is when SVG blew up earlier. I told you guys I had a clip and I thought I'd delete it. Here it is.
Truex Jr. with a flat
this thing's
left. Eric Jones and the plume of smoke is SVG in the middle.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Fortunately,
Jones
was able
Eric
to
Jones
catch that car, went in the corner, and that right front went down.
I just really wanted you guys to see the big smoke because it literally covered the entire backstretch. But yeah, so you good for next Sunday night?
Yeah.
Post race? All right.
Yeah, it's 6 o'clock my time, so we should be all right.
Yeah, I mean, even at 500 miles, it should be done by 10 o'clock my time. Worst case scenario. So we may be late. We will be within 30 minutes of the end of the race next week. You know what? We'll just go right after the race next week. 15 minutes after the race, we'll show up as long as Aaron can make it by then. We just won't have any of the graphics and everything else for you guys. We'll just go straight up after the race. We'll do Race React next week. So it'll be a different kind of show than we normally do. We're going to do React. I think that'll be more fun for everybody. Give it a little bit of change. We're going to talk about the playoffs next week. We're going to talk about who we wish would have made the playoffs that didn't, who we wish wouldn't have made the playoffs that did. And we are going to take predictions for who is going to be the NASCAR champion at the end of the year next week. Yes, Aaron doesn't know any of this. He's just getting fed to all this. So get ready. Big show next week. We may even have a guest on. Again, maybe we're trying to work out some logistics and details here. With next week being a race react. I doubt we have the guest, but we might. We'll see. But Aaron, anything else for our viewers besides the big thank you and have a great week?
Pretty much just make sure you guys follow Variety Sports Network on YouTube. I know you guys have 613 followers. Let's bump that up to 630. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the little bell in the bottom right-hand corner so when the show pops up, you guys can watch it. I'm actually right after this. I'm going to pop out watching the Talk of the Gridiron because I didn't get to watch it because I was preparing a little bit for the next left turn. So definitely check that one out. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome sauce. So we did have Talk of the Gridiron tonight. before us. If you weren't, or if you guys were watching that, great, awesome. Thanks for coming over after the end of that show. But if you didn't even know it was coming back on, go back to the YouTube page, check that one out. We had 7th inning stretch. We had a great guest from the Arizona Diamondbacks on this week for 7th inning stretch. He was fantastic. Go check that out. We have the full interview posted on YouTube. Plus, we have the entire 7th inning stretch, so you check those out. We will be back next Sunday. That's what the plan is, so don't hold against it if something changes. Check out the 314 Sports Show on the St. Louis Sports Network. Check out Saturday Showdown. They'll be back every week now, breaking down college football. So, busy time of the year. Guys, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate y'all. You have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday night.